Howdy and welcome to Trimtv, the podcast where we go over TV recommendations in a mostly spoiler-free way. Today we have a genre episode. I am so pumped that Netflix brought back my favorite game show, The Mole. So we are going to be talking about that, which is currently airing on Netflix. They just finished a fantastic season 1. And we're also going to give you four other recommendations of some competition game show type shows that I recommend for you guys to check out. So you guys have some homework after this episode. So anyway, we have a guest this week, and his name is Taz. You might remember him from a previous episode on some Star Wars stuff. So welcome back, Taz. Excited to have you here to talk about some game shows with me.
It's always fun, Josh.
Yeah, it's good. It's good chore TV, as I say. Like, you don't necessarily need to be super invested in it. It can kind of just be on in the background, and you're kind of going to know what's going on, even if you miss a couple seconds here and there doing other stuff.
That's a great term, chore TV.
So let's jump right on into it. The first show I wanted to cover was... So the pick is called The Pack. I love this show so much that Amazon sent me a survey about, my interest in season 2, and I was like, if you do not renew this, I legitimately might cancel my Amazon Prime membership. Weirdly enough, I've seen that this was getting a season 2, and then it got canceled, during the pandemic. But then it's really, I guess we're unsure if this is getting a season 2 at this point.
She's just a heaven-sent dog.
He's my best friend in the whole world, and I'm really happy to be doing this with him.
Never in a million years did I think I'd be able to travel the world with my dog.
And I'm a big fan of The Amazing Race and shows like this, and this is basically The Amazing Race, but instead of 2 humans, you have a human and their best friend, their dog. It's just a generally great show. You get to see the special relationship between man and his best friend, and they travel all over the world doing challenges, and they get eliminated one by one. And it's another great show where there's not really any villains. You're rooting for everybody, mostly everybody. They do have a contestant that does violate some safety standards with him and his dog, and they immediately took action and stepped in, and instead of being yeah, do more of that stupid shit, they stepped in and really punished him very severely. And I enjoyed that, not because I wanted to see him fail or anything, but because you don't see that a lot in some other reality shows where the producer steps in and is that sketchy shit is not going to fly. So I was definitely glad to see that. They end up going to... the USA, Mexico, Costa Rica, Austria, Italy, Switzerland, Paris, and London. So that had to be a mess to get dog visas, I would imagine. But what are your thoughts on this one? I personally loved it. Definitely something you can watch with your dog
Or the rest of your family. I mean, again, it's a great hook. Who can't or who won't root for a human and their dog, right? Seeing how they work together, seeing the bond that's there, and it's almost like the racing show where you've got so much invested in trying to succeed. This is another take on that. It wouldn't work with cats, of course. Okay, but let's not get the cat people angry. It's
what
fun
about
to watch.
The cast of Cats the musical? That might actually work.
That might work. So I'm sure it's fun to watch, and I'm sure it's edited appropriately, but appropriately meaning that there's lots of bonding moments, and there's lots of feel good moments, and there's lots of warm your heart moments as they go through all these various challenges in all these various places.
I'm Lindsey Vaughn. I'm a gold medalist, but my real love is Leo, Bear, and Lucy.
In this competition, dogs
And their partners
are teammates on the most thrilling adventure of their lives.
Costa Rica!
Mexico!
Paris.
Here we go.
And again, it's not that you would be rooting against anybody in particular. You're rooting for everybody. So, what was the prize in this?
It was the prize in this. You got, I want to say like 250,000 maybe. But they also provided a secondary prize, the same amount of money, I believe, to the charity of the winner's choice. They were all like dog related charities.
Sure.
So that was something I love to see. This is a great like Thanksgiving show, like something you can gather around with your family and friends. You don't have to like invest too deeply in it, but the dogs, like, they just pull you in. Again, you root for everyone. Every elimination is hard because, you don't want to see them go. So I thought it was very well done and pretty sad that they have not brought it back. But hopefully it's not another pandemic casualty.
Well, we'll see. They may be giving some thought to, okay, once you have how many different groups started, Josh, on this one?
I don't remember, but it was probably like 10 or 12. It was quite large.
So I presume you have 10 or 12 different breeds of dogs, different ages of dogs, and then if you're looking for the second season, of course, it's still gonna have that same empathetic hook, but it's like, all right, so how do we change it? Do we get 10 or 12 different breeds of dogs, or I just bet they felt a little lost about how to proceed from here into a second season.
Yeah, I think it was mostly just like the pandemic. Like I said, it was getting those weird news reports during the pandemic. After it got renewed, they were basically like, we don't really know if we can do this. So maybe it just got put in hiatus, hopefully, and not like fully canceled, because I believe this was a hit show. So if you don't have anything more for the pack,
I am so ready to get this adventure started.
You are my best friend and we've got some things to do.
So moving on to our next show that I recommend, it was a game show on, I believe it was on Discover, which is now part of HBO Max, I guess. I don't know, whenever that merge takes place. But it is called Race to Escape. It was a escape room game show where two teams of 3 members each, who did not know each other, they were complete strangers, were usually bound together. They had to find clues and puzzles and stuff to get them unlocked from each other, and then find clues, puzzles, and obstacles to get them through the room to unlock the door. Eventually, you would solve 5 clues, and then you win. If you do it faster than the other team, you win the prize money. But the shocker is, after 20 minutes of your hour is gone, then the prize money starts dwindling from the pot slowly.
6 total strangers are being locked up right now. 2 teams of 3 competitors trapped in identical rooms. In just moments, the lights will go on, revealing a sequence of mind-blowing challenges. $25,000 are up for grabs. The clock is about to start.
Because in this game, time is money. Starting now.
The internet says this is 2 teams of 3 are locked in identical rooms. They have only 1 hour to solve 5 mind-bending puzzles and challenges in order to escape. So you saw this one. I certainly would love to have been on this show. I did look and see if they were casting for a season 2, and I never saw anything, sadly. But I loved it. I know you are a science guy. You're Taz, the science guy. So I figured you would like this one because I do know you like escape rooms, and you being the science person, I figured you would love that. Like, they actually talk about science in this. When a contestant is doing something, stupid, they're like, oh, this is definitely the scientific reason for why they're doing this bad thing or wrong thing. So that was always one of those things I enjoyed for this show.
When you said, they're bound together, they're literally bound together at the start. They're not blindfolded. I mean, not immobilized, but there's.
They are blindfolded at the start. All right. They walk them in blindfolded, chain them down, and then right before they start filming, they take off the hoods, a proper kidnapping.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And these are people that don't know each other. So they're dealing with the personal reactions to that setup at the very beginning before they have to learn the escape room skills of learning to communicate with each other and work through the puzzle, work through the logic of it.
Can you imagine the casting director on this and being like, okay, guys, we're going to tie you, or we're going to blindfold you first, lead you into some weird room you're going to have to get out of, and then we're going to bind you and chain you to other people. And that just sounds like the start of those Saw movies.
Yeah, I'm not sure what channel you're watching, Josh, but yeah. So there's that at the very beginning, and I did like quote the science aspects. I mean, there's a little bit of it's not what's going on is not just going on in that isolated room between these three people. There is sort of an overseer that's talking to the audience, not necessarily to the three people in the room, giving them clues and hints or whatever. But there's ways people communicate, way people puzzle through logic, conundrums and things like that. And so from the outside, you have this fella, at least in a few of the clips I saw, that said, "Oh, well, this is a classic mistake." I think the example it says, "This is a classical mistake of making something that's really easy much harder than it really is." The
easy harder effect, or the harder
that's right
effect. I don't remember which one, but yeah.
And that's a good take-home lesson. It's a take-home lesson for the people that are participating in the room, but it's also a take-home lesson for the audience. So I really enjoyed that, and of course, it's just like it can be a bit obnoxious to know-it-all overseer pointing out the logical mistakes, or gosh, people, didn't you figure this one out? It's not that hard, but it does give the audience a reason to watch and a reason to enjoy it.
It's easier at home because you're not feeling that pressure for that time. You're not feeling that time crunch. So, it's easy to be like, oh, they should have done this. But I always like this show. I love escape rooms. I've done probably 50 now. You've been there for a lot of them, so I know you like escape rooms too. But this is just an overall fun show. It puts your brain to a little bit of a test. And you get to learn a little bit too, which is a lot of what Discovery's shows are about. They always have some sort of learning aspect to them. And I would say this is definitely not your traditional reality game show. It was definitely something a little unique, and I'm a little sad that there apparently is no season 2, because I would have loved to try out for that. So there are 6 episodes total of this, and the themes were the Explorer's Study, which you saw a little bit of. There was also a Chinese restaurant. That episode was really good. A bar fight episode, a schoolhouse lock episode, the auto shop, and finally the barber shop. And these are fairly intricate rooms. And I don't know if this show cost them that much money, because after you waste your first 20 minutes of the hour, they were severely cutting down on your money. So I think the average winnings were, 10,000 and under, split between 3 people. I don't know why this one didn't get a second season.
So one thing, Josh, I noticed about Race to Escape is they seem to spend a lot of money in putting together some really good puzzles, physically, mentally, knowing that they're going to have to, show something novel that's not going to be in your local escape room. So I was really impressed by the things they put together for the contestants to work through. There was a tilting 3D table in one of them that they were moving a ball through a maze to get combinations for a particular lock, and that was quite a clever thing. That was fun to make them to watch them work with that.
Yeah, I enjoyed some of the puzzles I hadn't seen before. A lot of them you kind of get the same feel after doing a bunch of escape rooms, so you kind of get the gist of where they're going with that puzzle. But some of them were pretty cool because they were like one-off puzzles.
Right.
Like, for example, small spoiler, episode 1, they get out by spraying champagne on a map. And that is definitely not something I have seen in another escape room.
And if the champagne's good enough, they don't care if they get out, really. You just share the champagne.
Exactly.
Oh, we're out of money now. We don't care. We got the champagne.
Exactly. HyperDrive.
Absolutely nothing compares to the spectacle you are about to see.
I love you. Good luck.
Love you too.
HyperDrive is a show on Netflix. It is a racing show, but not like a typical Formula One or NASCAR thing where they're just going around in a circle. Think more like a racing video game. They're doing a lot of stuff that you've never seen before. They're mixing styles with drag and drift and all that sort of stuff. It's one where you can root for everybody. You kind of just cheer as everybody races, and you pick your favorites and hope they go far. But it's a pretty cool show. They have some stunts they do. A lot of stuff goes wrong, which can be entertaining. The official explanation for this off the internet is a tournament series where drivers from around the world compete on one of the largest automotive obstacle courses ever made. And that is a fairly good description of it. A lot of people say it's like that Ninja Warrior show, but you're in a car.
This industrial complex has been transformed into 10 of the most insane race courses ever imagined.
Oh, the Leveler! A 6-story monstrosity that will show us exactly what these drivers are made of.
My goal is to show other people there are no limits.
So you saw a little bit of it. I watched the entire series. I think it's fantastic. It's one you should definitely check out. But what are some of your thoughts on it? What are some questions I can answer for you?
Well, I think the first thing that I need to remember is that it's a very much driver-oriented show. But there's a second part of it that may or may not be equally as large, depending on the situation that they find themselves in, because they're all not. Let me see if I can say this correctly. They're not all driving the same vehicle, with operating within the same rules, pretty much with the same capabilities. I mean, you look at you mentioned round the oval races. There's all sorts of rules about engine size and horsepower and aerodynamics and this and that and the other. So it's like horses that are handicapped. But in this case, it's really quite different because they're bringing their own vehicles.
Yeah, you had a range of vehicles from. I think like the cheapest was probably like a Nissan 350Z, maybe like a $20,000 car was probably one of the cheaper ones, maybe. But they did range up to, I think some guy brought like a Lamborghini, so like an extremely expensive car.
Right.
That they all had to insure themselves. Netflix came in and said, hey, we are going to damage your car, essentially. We are not going to pay for that. Do you still want to come and do this? And yeah, there was no prize money. So a knock on the show that I didn't really like was that there was no prize money because like some of these people are selling their livelihoods to get on to this show. I believe the driver the young girl from South Africa, her family sells their tow truck, which is their family business, to get her and her car to New York City to do this. There's one guy, he says, my parents died. I'm taking care of my, siblings. I'm working 4 jobs. And then you're going to have him come out and destroy his shit and be like, oh, yep, sorry, go watch it on Netflix, though. So that is kind of disheartening.
It certainly, it differentiates the show from a lot of other, quote, car competitions. But I think it's also fairly clever, and it engenders some sympathy on the part of some empathy on the part of the viewers. It's like, so for example, you mentioned somebody brings a Lamborghini, but then somebody brings their, cobbled together vehicle, and now you're going to root for that person. You're not necessarily going to root for the person that brings in the highly capable vehicle, even though they're, of course, probably a good driver. You're going to root for the underdog a little bit. So it's probably a little bit of a clever marketing strategy, because it is two-pronged, both the driver skills, which were amazing, and the vehicles, they're labor of love, and hopefully enough to carry them through the obstacle course. So it's a very interesting approach to it. It is unfortunate that Netflix is sort of standing off and say, well, yeah, destroy your investment for our profitability and our audience's entertainment. So, and I'm sure there was a lot of damage to these vehicles, because they really go through heck and back.
Yeah, they literally were like, do this for exposure. And, exposure did work for some of them, others not so much. But all the negatives aside, this is a fun one. They don't really have a villain in the show. It's just everybody rooting for everybody. All the competitors were cheering for each other, which definitely makes it a fun, easy, light watch. Something I highly recommend.
The driving skills, so you have to say, because the obstacles change each time through a bit, the driving skills are really amazing. They probably don't get a whole lot of practice. They probably don't get a whole lot of ability to plan. It's sort of like, hold it together and get through as best you can. So the skills that the drivers exhibit, I think, were really very amazing, and literally fun to watch. I don't want them doing it on the interstate. I don't want them doing it on the commute to work. But they're amazing.
And to your point, I actually when I was researching this, I saw an interview with Fielding Shredder, who was one of the drivers on the show, and he was saying that they didn't really get much practice time. They occasionally could walk parts of the course, and they would occasionally get shown like difficult obstacles that they'd have to do, just so they have some familiarity with it. But other than that, they were not really allowed to practice, and that was really due to noise complaints. This was filmed in Rochester, New York, in some like industrial park, and apparently because they filmed it at night, so like at 3 a.m. there's just like tires screeching everywhere. So the neighbors complained, and they kind of had to even cut down more on that practice time that they were not really getting in the first place. This show definitely just makes me want to go out and drive fast. And like I was saying, there are some jaw-dropping moments. Somebody does go to the hospital. So it's just a show that I definitely recommend you check out. Any other thoughts on HyperDrive?
Well, it certainly gets your heart rate up. Literally, I mean, you are rooting for everybody, as you said, and there's more than a couple points watching through it. I just hope they get out of this alive. So it's you're in a vehicle traveling at a good rate of speed, and the opportunity for disaster, or at least some bad consequences, was not that far away. So it's sort of like, wow, they got through it. It's we're at the end and everybody made it. So it's feel good in that sort of way too.
Yeah.
This is the most spectacular car competition on Earth.
It's like the Fast and the Furious, but in real life.
We can move on to Treasure Hunters.
Let's move on to treasure hunters, and let's bring the best dog to help us sniff things out here.
It's out there. Somewhere. A hidden treasure worth millions. Its secret is protected by history, its most powerful figures, and its most familiar icons. Its location is guarded by an ancient secret society that still exists today.
Washington, Jefferson, next should be Lincoln.
The clues are hidden in plain sight, right before our eyes.
So Treasure Hunters is basically a mashup of like National Treasure, the movie, like the Nicolas Cage movie, mixed in with The Amazing Race. So you have like challenges and puzzles and stuff that revolve around like loose history. A lot of like loose history based around like the founding and, you know, the revolution and all that stuff.
The secrets of history are all around us. Hidden messages left by our forefathers will lead teams of treasure hunters on the greatest adventure of their lives. A test of mental strength and physical endurance that will take them into the heart of America and beyond its borders. 7 mysterious artifacts protect the secret of the key. Find the treasure. They must find the key.
So if you're a history buff, definitely recommend this one for you. It is super fun to play along with. And I remember watching this when it aired, and it was so fun to play along with because they had an interactive online game that was loosely tied into the show. So during the show, the sponsor for the show, which at the time was Genworth Financial, which I think is a bank. I don't know. Basically, they would like pop in with like small little hints that would help you on the online show or the online show or the online game. So that was fun. I remember completing it with my friend Jessica in high school. And once you completed it, you were entered into, I believe they picked like 5 or 10 people. They brought them to the finale of the show, and they let them actually play like a very, very, very condensed like couple hours of the game show. And then I think like they gave the winner of that, like, I want to say $10,000. Or 20,000, something like that. Anyway, that was a blast. This is a very, very fun show. A lot of the challenges, they're not quick. Some of the challenges took, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 hours for these teams to complete. So I just loved it. They did a great job casting. Like they have some of the stereotypical characters, like they have the beauty queens who you expect to just be like dumb as rocks, and they're not. They do quite well. They are very, very, very smart ladies. So it was nice to see, some casting that you wouldn't expect. And then they also had like the redneck character, which they were funny because it's a team of 3. They were funny. Didn't come off in the best light though. So you saw a little of this. What were your thoughts?
Well, I think the value of this is in that competition and the team dynamics and the fact that the various teams were so different. I think this is rowing down the same river as the movies as you mentioned. A little bit of the setup is like, the mysterious clues left, here and there, and all you have to do is find them. Well, that story and that meme that's just been gone over and over again in the movies and other places as well. It really increases the fun of watching this when you get to the teams themselves, though. Again, it's almost like an escape room, but not an escape room. It's an escape room in the great outdoors.
Very
the
much
fun
so.
is seeing the dynamics in the team and the successes that they have. And to be blunt about it, the mistakes they make, the silly decisions they come to.
And this show was so vast that like some of their mistakes sent them hours, hundreds of miles out of the way. So it made for some very interesting times.
So it's like an escape room with an unlimited physical venue. I mean, across hundreds of miles and hours. You're not going to put people in an escape room for 12 hours. You're not going to have a stage that's hundreds of miles in radius. So it was quite different in that regard, and still looking at the same dynamic in the teams and how they work together. It would have been interesting, and you know, you mentioned the beauty queens versus the rednecks. It'd be interesting to have a team with a beauty queen and a redneck, and then I don't know who else. I mean, but just just make it not a stereotypical, but an stereotypical team, and see how they work through the same challenges.
They did a very good job in the casting with like being able to group the team members by a specific team. Like they do the beauty queens, the rednecks, the ex-CIA agents. They have brothers, twins, 3 guys who met at a hockey rink when they were like 6, and they call them the Southie Boys. So they do a very good job of packaging teams to where they make it easier to talk about, which I think The Amazing Race could do a better job of.
So it's sort of clear this one in terms of how they package those teams is you are going to have a favorite. As opposed to the other show where you know you're rooting for everybody, there's going to be a natural attraction to one team or the other, and you are going to generate your list of favorites. So you will be rooting for them.
And the way they eliminate people on the show is just wild. It's not like The Amazing Race where it's like the last person to get to this particular spot. You get a tearful goodbye with the host. The way they eliminate people on this show, if you remember the Motorola Razr cell phone, this is very prominent in this show. They end up like calling these people on their Motorola Razr cell phone and are just like, yo, y'all lost. Bye.
Bye.
So like they're driving down the interstate and they get this call and they're just like, okay, bye. So there's definitely things they could improve, but I love this one. It was one of those things where I was like, is this a real thing or did I have a fever dream? Because for the longest time, I could never find this online. ABC or NBC, whoever aired it, like they never put it online. Finally, a couple weeks ago, I just happened to search out again because I knew we were going to be doing this episode. And one of the contestants put all of the episodes on his YouTube page. Fogel, who is there, the pastors. So he's a pastor, and it was his wife and his daughter. They were a team. So thank you to them for putting it online because this is just an amazing show. Let me see. So this had some of like the wildest game show moments. I don't know who did safety coordination on this set, but like 3 people basically break their legs. And I don't mean like bone break, although I think one person did have a bone break, but I think like one person like tore an ACL, the other person like fucked up their, he like pulled off the muscle in his like thigh or something. It was weird. Basically 3 horrific leg injuries. One of the rednecks, he's about to get eliminated. Some small spoiler. He may be eliminated. So anyway, they're at this lighthouse. And one of the castings, the redneck group, they're not very good at the game, but they are highly, highly entertaining. And not for very good reasons, like kind of because them not being good at the game is putting it very nicely. So some of their antics include they end up the dad character of the redneck group, they're about to be eliminated possibly, and the other group has figured out the combination lock that they're competing against. So instead of being eliminated gracefully, he goes under the guy, basically teabags himself under this guy's balls, trying to look up the combination lock answer to give his team a chance, which was just hilarious. My favorite antic by them is they were at this puzzle for like 4 hours, and they can't figure it out. It was not a hard puzzle. Everybody else pretty much immediately figured it out. Anyway, they're there for 4 hours. They get hungry, so they drive 80 miles out of their way to go get Burger King, and then somehow they still get back and don't get eliminated from that. They barely survive that one, but you know, the producers of this show just let these people make the wildest choices, and I think it is a highly underrated game show.
Well, it was entertaining. They were not the first group eliminated, right?
No, they made it to almost middle of the pack, I think.
Well, there you go. You're going to keep your group that entertains the audience. So I'm not saying that was purposefully done, but people probably tuned in just to watch these antics.
Yeah. And another great twist they had is at the start of the show, they have the teams of, I believe it's 10 teams. They split them up into 2 groups of 5. One starts in the Pacific Ocean. The other one starts near Alaska, I think. They do not know about the other groups, so they think they are just competing among the 5 groups that are at their location. But by the end of episode 1, I believe, they reunite all 10 groups, and then they finally realize that basically the people they thought they were competing against, that size has now doubled. I loved that, but I wish they would have dragged. I wish they would have dragged that out to like halfway through the series. That way, you know, these teams are getting it down to like 1 or 2 teams left, and then all of a sudden the size just doubles.
I think that changes strategy. That changes strategy.
It would have been way more.
So yeah, it seems that was a lot of work went into setting that up, and it didn't parlay into anything that long term. So that was a little confusing to me.
Just miles from the Arctic Circle, 5 teams of treasure hunters from every walk of life and every part of America are about to embark on the treasure hunt of a lifetime. But what they don't know is they are not alone. 3,000 miles away in the South Pacific, 5 more teams have gathered to begin their search for the treasure. Each group believes that they are the only 5 teams competing.
Come on, let's move!
Their journey will test them like never before.
He saw something in here. Let's be smart about this.
Getting there first means nothing unless you have the mental power to solve the clues that hide the treasure.
I say we're looking for a prism or a sphere.
Only then can they find the key and the treasure.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Let's go.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of logistics for them just to use it for, you know, 1 episode. But it is something I would like to see maybe like The Amazing Race do at some point. Or, hey, Disney Plus, bring this back. Since you're bringing back a National Treasure TV show, this would be a great companion piece, almost like the game show version of the TV show that you just put into production. So I just love this show. I think it is highly underrated. You can find, I think there's 10 or 12 episodes of it. It is on YouTube. Like I said, the former contestant is hosting it on his YouTube site. Just search for Treasure Hunters on YouTube and you should find the TV show for it. I highly recommend it. It is very fun.
It'd be great if there was commentary by the contestant, but I don't know that that's there or not. And of course, you'd be tempted to go ahead.
Let's get this podcast big so I can invite him on and be like, what the fuck were you thinking? He has some questionable moments. At one point, the contestants are prompted to, they can either take a 3-hour penalty and keep the team together, or they can take basically a 3-hour advantage and drop a member of the team. And I personally thought he should have dropped his daughter, because his daughter was clearly not having a good time, like literally screaming her head off.
I can't go on.
I would have left her and took the 3-hour advantage, but sadly that did not happen. So, moving on to the main event, we are talking about the mole. Before we talk about the new mole, let's talk about the old mole. The old mole premiered in 2001, so it's about, 20 years old now? 21 years? Something like that. It's been off the air for about 14 or 15 years. It is my personal favorite game show of all time. Anderson Cooper was the original host, and the concept was you have a group of people who are trying to complete tasks and challenges to add money to the group pot, and basically the last person standing receives the money. Although in that group, there is somebody who is trying to sabotage the pot, so they take money out of the pot and the group does not earn money. They are the mole, and at the end of every episode, there is a quiz where all the contestants answer questions pertaining to who is the mole, and whoever scores the lowest and knows the least about the mole is eliminated and becomes the mole's latest victim. And again, with the last person standing, they get the group pot of money.
10 strangers playing for up to $1 million. Among them, a saboteur, a traitor, the mole. The winner, the one who answers the question, who is the mole?
So Netflix unfortunately does not have the regular people seasons of this. They right now have the two celebrity versions. Those are meh episodes. They're very much they don't get them to do anything extreme. For example, in the original Mole, the first stunt they do is they force everybody out of an airplane at 10,000 feet with a parachute. As compared to in Celebrity Mole, they make them jump off a small cliff into the ocean. So it's very much what can we make these celebrities do that won't get us in trouble with the Actors Guild?
I thought this was going to be Celebrity Mole with fakey, celebrity, easy half games. I didn't know anybody would be trying to get buckets from a waterfall. This is ridiculous.
So they are okay episodes, not the best. This is also a game show that other countries have adopted, and I actually have not checked out some of the ones from England and Australia, but I should do that. So any thoughts or questions about the original Mole?
I haven't flirted with her.
You have acted like a slut since the day I met you. Just own it.
Well, it's an interesting up-to-date combination of a murder mystery with a couple people working in the background to confound the investigation and leaving false clues and generally causing mischief. All the way back to playing the board game Clue, where you get certain mysteries and you have to keep track of X or Y or Z to figure out who did it where in the conservatory with the candlestick. So the point of that is that the basic plot is there. We're going to spice it up by having different people and a diverse array of people doing it. We're going to have a plane in the jungle. We're going to jump out of airplanes. We're going to look for things in water, or look for things under the ground, or look for things in the air. It's going to be spiced up and made more modern. You're watching a team of people work together and learn how to work together, and yet in the back there's this little persistent little nagging thought that somebody's going to be trying to mess things up. And that adds a certain element of anticipation on the part of the audience. It's interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's really fun to play along. You get your suspect list, and then that changes as people are eliminated by the mole. And it's always fun to rewatch this too, because once you find out who the mole is at the end, you can rewatch it and be like, oh, he or she was doing this. This is how they sabotaged. And you really get to play along at home, like I was saying. you get to guess, like, is this person the mole, or are they just bad at this task, or afraid of heights, or whatever? Are they trying to waste time by, enjoying the scenic view instead of like marching up the hill? So you kind of get to play detective on this one, and I just love it. I think it is a fantastic show, and I was super surprised to see Netflix rebooted this. I did not see any news about it or anything come out, and I just happened to log into Netflix one day, and it was on my homepage, and I flipped out. I was so fucking excited for this. The new one is fantastic. It takes place entirely in Australia. You have some great cast in this. The host she's no Anderson Cooper, but she does a great job in this as well. I certainly will be looking for a season 2 casting announcement, because I would just love to play this. Love to play the game. I'd love to be the mole.
Welcome to a new generation of deception. 12 strangers will compete together with a common goal.
Oh yes, I'm here for the money.
Complete missions, get paid.
I came to be Dom Cruise, but I'm trying to complete every mission impossible.
But there's one player with a secret mission.
The person you least suspect is the person you should suspect the most.
Sabotage.
I mean, one thing to remember is you're trying to find the mole. So the first episodes and the information that they're going to give to the people in the audience about the first episodes is going to be fairly unsatisfying. You don't have too much of a clue. Nobody's been eliminated yet. People are all just still learning how to work with each other and learning about each other. So it's like you get to the end of the first episode and you say, I really don't know anything I didn't know before, other than this is mildly entertaining to watch, because you know that there's a miscreant somewhere in the mix. But as it builds on episode to episode to episode, it certainly gets more interesting. And when it's down to just, a few people, then people are placing their bets, and that becomes fun.
So you haven't lied once?
Yeah, so when I was playing the one, I had 2 suspects. I did not end up picking the mole until like the last 2 or 3 episodes. But my 2 suspects, they made it, I think, to like the final 4 or 5. So it was certainly fun for me to play along, because I didn't have to make many changes until, the final couple episodes. One thing they didn't do very well in this is at the finale, when they reveal them all, it is kind of anticlimactic compared to the original Mole, where they did it more theatrical with like people coming out of the shadows, revealing they were the mole, that sort of thing. And this time they're just like, it's the mole. But they do, at the final episode, they have a cast interview, and they do go over like all the times he or she has sabotaged. But you really get into the gameplay of it, because you're just wondering, like, did this person just sabotage, or did they mess up, or like, are they sabotaging because they want to draw suspicion to themselves because they're not the mole, so that will get other people eliminated. So it's just a fun show to binge watch, and they leave every episode on a cliffhanger, because like you were saying, they do not eliminate anybody in episode 1. They get you right to that edge, and then it cuts to black, and then you go to the next episode. And there are some very, very, very good cliffhangers in this. One of them, I was just like jaw dropped on one of the, I think it was like episode 2 or 3. Trust me, if you watch that far, you will know what I'm talking about. It was just a great twist, and something I definitely did not see coming. And that's always something you want in a TV show, is to be surprised and not really know where the story is headed.
Well, this is it's a tried and true formula at this point, right? People writing in cliffhangers or selectively providing information to the audience. The people that produce these shows know how to do it, and they know how to do it very well. And when it works very well. So, cue the dramatic music. as you say, it's nice to have a dramatic ending as well. But this is something that's been done over and over again. It's always interesting to watch, and this one is as well.
Yeah, I forget his name, but my favorite of the show, he ends up going really far. I loved him. He does exactly what I would do, where he does like just something crazy will happen, and he just like stares straight off into the camera, and it's just like, what the fuck am I watching? And at one point, like there's a huge ruckus at dinner that takes place because one of the contestants is trying to draw suspicion onto herself, so she makes some accusations at dinner about other people, and he's just eating his meal, and he's just like dead staring into the camera, being like.
And you wanted more drama. You just got drama during the season rather than right at the end. But sure.
Yeah. The show has everything: drama, intrigue, mystery. It's just fantastic. Highly recommend you go check it out. I just need more people to watch it so I can talk about the mole with them. Hopefully this gets a season 2. If you're watching this, cast me as the mole. I would be fantastic. My mole game plan would just be to sit back. You don't really have to do much, because with the strategy going on, with people trying to draw attention to themselves and draw that fake attention to be the fake mole so they advance further, you don't really have to do much. And that would be my plan, is just kind of make money for the pot, be pretty reliable, and just let other people fuck up.
If it's a strategy, it's a dang good one.
And what role would I play, Josh?
Probably first eliminated.
I think you're probably right. Thanks for your vote of confidence.
Well, yeah, you'll just have to finish the series and see if you can guess the mole. And then we can talk about it.
You've lost 30 grand.
What?
Does anyone have any ideas about who might have sabotaged to date?
But anyway, this was a fun genre episode about some competition shows I enjoyed, and I think you guys should highly check out. You guys have homework. You have 5 great, 6 technically shows because of the old mole. So 6 shows you guys can check out. If you enjoyed this and want to make content with me, come on and talk about a specific show, or if you have a genre where we can talk about a couple shows like we just did here, let me know. The email is trimtvpodcast@gmail.com. And we will work on scheduling, and we'll get people talking about the shows that you love. So, Taz, I know you do not have anything to promote and no social media to speak of, so I wanted to say thank you for coming on with us today. And
Sure,
I know the next episode you wanted to do was the Obi-Wan series, which was the mini-series from Disney. So hopefully you guys will be seeing that from us soon. And hopefully we'll have some other shows coming out soon with some other special guests as well.
Thanks a lot, Josh. This is always fun.
All right. Thank you. Bye.